Well, hello, IDS 105 students, and welcome to week 4 in your IDS 105 course. Y'all, I got to pause for a moment and we have to do some celebrating. High fives, woohoos, wherever you are. High five yourself, high five a family member, a loved one that might be next to you, or a coworker or colleague. And just take a minute and celebrate the fact that you have made it to the halfway point of your IDS 105 term. This is an exciting moment. Some of you may feel like you're still finding your footing and getting into a routine. Some of you might be like, I got this. I'm figuring this out. I'm getting there. Some of you might be in between. And no matter where you are, I want you to know that it's okay because day by day, assignment by assignment, week by week, we learn that confidence, we learn how to use our resources and be an advocate for our academic journey. And just know that you're halfway through the term, which is so exciting. So this week, we're going to focus in on the importance of communication. And I'm going to go over your assignments for the week, which is a discussion assignment and another project draft. As always, your experience here at Southern New Hampshire University is important to us. It is our policy and practice to create an inclusive and accessible learning environment. If there are aspects of instruction or course design that present barriers to accessibility, please notify the Online Accessibility Center, the OAC, as soon as possible at 866-305-9430. You can also email them at oac@sne2.edu or visit the Online Accessibility Center website. A couple of webinar reminders. This is an academic space, so always be mindful of your conduct. This includes this space, it includes SNH2 Connect, your classroom space, and also the First Year Experience YouTube channel. Just a reminder too, these webinars are not graded. They are not required, but hopefully you are learning how to do your assignments from week to week, and they're helping you understand the concepts as you move from module to module in your course. Couple of reminders, just as we are at the halfway point. First and foremost, always make sure that y'all are reading your course announcements, no matter what course you're taking. Your instructors spend a lot of time and energy putting together course announcements that give you some reminders, maybe some tips and tricks for your success on completing assignments from week to week. And it's just a really great way to stay on top of what's happening in your classroom space. Also, don't forget to check your SNH2 email. That is how the university communicates with you. And it's really important that if somebody's trying to get a hold of you, you're able to check that email and get back to them. Also, please, if you have questions, you're stuck, you're not sure on something, especially if it's something that's related to any course assignments or course content or the class itself, please reach out to your faculty, reach out to your course instructors. We want you to be successful in our courses. So don't hesitate, don't wait. You can send an email. All faculty will list their contact information in that My Instructor announcement in your Brightspace classroom space. So check and see their email addresses. If they shared phone numbers, either call them on the phone or even text message back and forth. Sometimes faculty will even schedule like FaceTime or Google Hangout meetings. So make sure you're reaching out and advocating for your success. Do not wait, okay? Now, week 4, what's due for week 4? So like I mentioned earlier, this week you have your next project draft assignment. So you're submitting another project draft for your guidebook, and then you have a discussion assignment. So a few reminders, as always, for that project draft, you have a template, right? You use that template back in week 2 or module 2, week 3, module 3. And now you're going to use it here again in module 4, week 4. So open up that same document you've been working with and answer the questions that are outlined for module 4. As a reminder, this is a Microsoft Word document, the template. So you want to make sure that you're able to utilize Microsoft Word or something compatible so that you can utilize the template, but also so you can upload it and your instructor can grade it successfully. All right. Other notes about that is your video note submissions are not permitted for project drafts, okay? The other thing is too, if you for some reason don't have Microsoft Word or something compatible, you do get Office 365 for free as a student, and you can find that underneath online student services from your Brightspace classroom. A couple of things about your assignments that I want to make sure you guys remember is first and foremost, pay attention to which questions you're answering for the project draft. Certain questions are outlined for each module, so make sure that you're answering the right questions. Also, top tip, y'all use the written feedback service from academic support. You can go into your classroom at the very top, click on academic support. A menu of services pull up right there in the middle on the top row is written feedback. And what written feedback is it allows you to submit a drafted assignment. So this could be a discussion post, this could be a paper, this could be your project, it could be like your project draft. Once you've kind of written it and answered the question, done the work, you then can upload it to the academic support team and outline or let the team know like what areas you would like them to check. There's a little document that you fill out, you upload that assignment, submit it to them, and they get you feedback within 12 hours. So that way you can make any changes and then you can get it to your instructor. So it's a really great service just to have kind of another set of eyes on your writing mechanics, having somebody look over to make sure they're answering the questions kind of correctly, that you're on scope with the assignment, things like that. So it's a really great service to use, and it's free and it's there for you to utilize. And a lot of students always tell me once they've used it, like if they use it for the first time, like right now at the halfway point, they're almost kicking themselves that they didn't utilize it sooner. Okay. So just that is my plug for academic support. Use the written feedback service. It is a great service to use for your success, especially on these project drafts. Reminders about due dates. Initial discussion post, as always, when you have a discussion assignment, is due on Thursday at 11:59 p.m. with those minimum of 2 peer responses, and that project draft due by Sunday. As a reminder, with that initial post being due on Thursday, if you want to work on it earlier in the week, ahead of the week, that's fine. And if you want to have more than 2 responses to classmates, again, that's fine. Or you want to submit them before Sunday, that's okay. Just make sure when you're writing those peer responses in your classes in the discussion forum that you are writing more than a couple of sentences. All right, a couple of sentences isn't going to cut it. You really want to make sure that you're spending time with those responses. So again, initial post Thursday, peer responses and project draft due by Sunday or earlier as convenient for your schedule. This week is one of my favorite weeks in our course because communication is so powerful, because we got communication and we have miscommunication, right? So this week you're going to really be kind of diving in and learning a lot about how you communicate, thinking about how others communicate, and it's really going to kind of give you some ideas that you can utilize both inside and outside the classroom. So I like to remind students that there's a lot of different types of communication that are out there. All of these you are familiar with, but as I talk about them, I want you to think about for a minute the way that you prefer to communicate one of these types of communication, and also what you notice, like how you best communicate in which of these, and then how, what is the one that you use the most often. Okay, just kind of think about it for a minute. So we always have verbal communication, which is, using that spoken word to communicate our thoughts and our feelings. We also have written communication. So written communication is like notes, emails, text messages, letters, anything that's written. Okay. Nonverbal communication is using that body language. So like your posture, gestures, even silence is included in that. And then visual communication is using visual cues. So if you look at these 4 different types of communication, which way do you like to communicate? Think about it for a minute. Like, I love to talk to other people. I love verbal communication. But how do I communicate most often? Written, text messages, emails, right? I do send those good old-fashioned cards in the mail sometimes. So it's interesting, like the way I love to communicate the most, I'm using the least. And often with text messages or emails, we can have miscommunication, right? So I want you to just kind of think for a minute, like, how do I like to communicate? And then think about how you communicate the most. Maybe there's some shifts or changes you could make to help you even be a better communicator, but also think about the people that are in your life and how they communicate. Because it's just really interesting to kind of take a look at communication in general, because especially with technology and all the things we have at our fingertips, we like things to be quick, we like things to be fast. But sometimes we realize when we spend some time communicating in the way that we love the best, like when I sit down and get to talk with like friends or family, I am so much more fulfilled than if it was just over a text message, right? So think about some of those things as you're thinking about communication. And the way that you communicate and some changes you could make, but also think about these as you're interacting with diverse populations or with other people that are different than you, because sometimes the way that we communicate with nonverbal communication or visual communication could be offensive to somebody from a different culture. So it's really important to kind of think about these things, think about your workspaces, think about the people that you work with, because when we really consider the different types of communication, the way we communicate, the way that others communicate around us, and really kind of stop and pause for a minute and think about people's intention versus the impact, and our own intention versus the impact we might have, it might just change the way that we communicate a little bit. So just some food for thought. But this week, you're going to be diving into communication and really learning a lot about yourself and about others. In the discussion assignment this week, you are answering these 3 questions. First and foremost, discuss a situation where communication is important. This could be a situation from your daily life, your work life, or in your academic life. If you prefer, you can also describe a situation from a show that you've watched, a book that you've recently read, or a recent event in the news. So this is really kind of a cool thing to think about. If you don't want to share something personally from your daily life, work life, or academic life, you can think about like that show, movie, or book that you read and talk about like what happened in that situation and then why communication is important. Okay, make sure you share the details and the examples, because otherwise your classmates and your instructor who weren't a part of it, or maybe haven't seen the show or movie or read the book, might be missing what your message is. Okay. Question 2 is to describe your own personal communication style preferences in the situation you described. So kind of like I mentioned earlier, think a minute, stop and think for a minute. Do you prefer text messages, maybe over in person, or do you prefer email versus that phone call, like, or face to face? Like, what are the ways you communicate? And like thinking about the situation you used in question number 1, what kind of communication styles were used in that example? And then 3, what communication strategies would help enhance communication in the situation you described? So for example, just an example, maybe you had a situation in life where you were text messaging with a friend or family member back and forth, and the message got misconstrued or it was taken out of context. So you want to think about, share that experience and the details, and then you want to think about like how you communicated in that situation, and then how you prefer to communicate and what you like to do, and then think about like what maybe would have changed the outcome of that, or what was done in that situation, or what could have been changed from a communication standpoint. Okay. So lots of communication, lots of things to think about today. But one of my favorite things about this week's discussion is it's so applicable to our everyday life, because we are communicating with others all day, every day. So as a reminder, initial discussion post is due on Thursday, 11:59 p.m. And then your 2 classmate responses, minimum of 2, is due by Sunday or before, as it works with your schedule. Your other assignment is another project draft. So remember back in module 2, you picked the scenario that you were going to use all term long. That was either a school scenario, personal, or workplace, right? So you use that scenario to answer questions in module 2, module 3. Now you're going to do that same thing in week 4. As a reminder, when you pull up the assignment, you see a quick overview of those 3 scenarios. But remember, you can find kind of the extended version, all the details and information about each scenario underneath that scenario profile section. I want to give you just a quick look at what those questions are for module 4. They are located on the template underneath part 2. Remember last week you should have answered question 1 and 2. So you'll see for here in module 4, you're answering question 3, question 4, and question 5. So in question 3, you are answering, describe how an awareness of other cultures can benefit interpersonal communication with people in your scenario. So think about the scenario that you chose. Remember to use details, examples to explain how awareness of other cultures can benefit interpersonal communication with people in that scenario. Question 4, whoops, my PowerPoint wanted to go ahead of me. Hold on just a sec here. Question 4, describe how exposure to diverse backgrounds can positively influence communication in this scenario. Again, think about the scenario you chose, what you've learned in class, and examples and concepts from our reading, and then also your personal life outside of the classroom to help you answer these questions. Question 5, explain why an awareness of diversity is beneficial to collaboration in this scenario. So these are the 3 questions that you are completing from module 4 that you will answer, and then you will submit for it to be graded. The biggest thing I want you guys to remember is communication is key, all right? If you're stuck on something, you have questions on something, especially as related to your class, please reach out to your course instructor. But also, everyday life, we are consistently and constantly communicating. There are so many ways for us to communicate, whether it is on the phone, face-to-face, email, text messages, whatever it might be. Understand how you communicate best, but also take a minute to pause and think about those that are in your life at work, at home, at school, and how they communicate. and what you could do to make sure that the communication has a positive impact and that you understand the messages as they were intended to be received. All right, real quick, that is the main content for the webinar today, but I will share my classroom space with you just to kind of show you a couple things real fast. As a reminder, you can find everything in your Brightspace classroom.learn.snhu.edu. I wanted to point out that if you click on academic support, it pulls up that menu of services. Written feedback is right here. You literally will click on try it now. You'll fill out information like your contact information, upload the assignment, share what you would like the written feedback team to take a look at, and they'll upload it, and then they will get back to you within 12 hours. Okay, I wanted to show you that. I also wanted to show you that underneath this help button, if you click on the down arrow and click on online student services, it pulls up all the departments here at the university. As a reminder, as you scroll down, you can find that Office 365 and other software in case you do not have Microsoft Word or something compatible. Okay. The other thing I wanted to show you is underneath course menu, click on learning modules. Everything for this week is underneath module 4, which is right here. You'll notice as you click through it, click on that introduction as always. Remember, there's lots of reading within the module, so make sure you're scrolling all the way down and clicking all the way over as you review the content. It's so important to make sure that you're reviewing the information that is in the module in addition to any of your required resources, okay? So as you arrow over, you'll always find that required resources section that has your chapters you need to read, any videos or any other supplemental information to help you understand the concepts that we are talking about from week to week. You have that discussion assignment this week that we already talked about, and then you will have that project draft assignment. As a reminder, when you open up that project draft assignment, it has the overview and the questions. As you scroll down, there's that template again. Click the blue, gets you where you want to go. So if you click on the template, it'll open up that Word document. Here's what it looks like. Remember, mine is just highlighted to make it easy to see the different sections for y'all. Yours will not be highlighted, and you can just type right in the document, okay? So you should have already answered part 1, and you are working in the part 2 section, the second half, question 3, 4, and 5 here for module 4, okay? So I wanted to make sure I reminded you of that. The other thing is, if you need kind of a refresher on those scenario profiles and all the details about them, click on scenario profiles. And when you do that, it'll pull up kind of the extended version. Remember, you're just focusing on the scenario overview right now. It is actually going to be next week in module 5 that you will pick a conflict to answer the questions as part of that template. The biggest takeaway I want you guys to have is as you're working on that final project, that guidebook template, you want to make sure that you are using details and examples to help drive the concepts home and answer the questions. You're writing a guidebook, so you want somebody else to be able to pick it up and kind of use this guidebook as a reference in case they come into the same issues that are described in the scenarios. If you get stuck, you have questions, use the written feedback services from the academic support team. Please reach out to your instructor. Remember that we are so excited and so proud of you. Welcome to the halfway point. You got this, and have a wonderful week 4.